Well, what we'll do, we'll just have you hit a few drivers, and I'm just going to watch hit your driver a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with TrackMan.
No.
What it is, it actually tracks the ball with live Doppler radar, where you have some launch monitors, which are very good, but they'll take a picture of the golf ball, and then based on how much that golf ball is moved in the 2 pictures that it takes, it makes calculations on spin, distance, things like that, where this is actually tracking live data. Okay, and then we're going to be displaying it on the screen. I want to kind of talk about these numbers up here. Basically, we have the ball speed, 164. We want that as fast as we can get it. Typically your average player is going to be somewhere probably in the 150, 152, 153. Once you start getting into 160s, 170s, you get into tour players. Bubba Watson, example, longest driver on tour, 190. So, and the vertical launch angle, we're looking 10 to 14. That's going to vary. You play in Texas, you may want to hit a little bit lower. Play maybe out here where the wind doesn't affect you as much, you can hit a little bit higher, maybe closer to 13, 14. The spin rate, we're looking, keep it below 3,000. Anywhere probably above 2,200, below 3,000, that's going to be a range. And then also the smash factor, that's a ratio of how solid you hit the ball. Okay, so 1.47 or 1.48 means you had pretty good energy transfer from the club head to the ball. Anything less means you're not hitting as solid. Also carry 275.2, and the landing angle, this is something that's been new probably over the last year or so. Anything less than 45 degrees coming down is sufficient, because we teach everybody to high launch, but we also want to know that it's rolling, okay? But anything less than 45 is sufficient to get adequate roll, but 35 to 40 is ideal, because if you start coming shallower than a 35-degree angle, you're probably giving up a little bit of carry. But if you start coming a little bit steeper than 40 or even 45, you may be carrying it too far and it's causing it to come down too steep. So if we can get in 35 to 40, we can really maximize the carry and the roll. Okay, hit that in pretty solid? Okay. All right, so let's just take a look at the difference in the 2 clubs, all right? Just the averages of them real quick. Yeah, okay. So these are going to show the averages here. The ball speed, the first club was 162, now we went to 167. So 5 miles an hour faster on the ball speed. Actually, and you launched the second one a little bit higher, even though it was a lower loft. So that's where we'd know it's something in the swing a little bit more up on it. Maybe the tee was teed up a little bit high. Spin, very similar, 3,100. Smash factor, we were talking about this, anytime you get closer to 1.5, you're hitting it more solid. So you made a little more solid contact with it. And this is the biggest difference here. We've got 18 yards difference in carry. So now what I've taken, this is going to be a 7.5 stiff shaft as well, okay? And after we do this, we're going to look at all the clubs together, and then we're going to have a few shots on that fitting software that'll show the angle of attack. And we can see, if it's, the club or the ball, because if we see 2 different lofts going the same height, typically that's something in the swing, that's going to cause us to go high. But you hit it really solid and straight, it's just going to be a little high. Okay. That's right. Right. And let's just take a look at some of these numbers here. So we take a look at the averages. Again, it shows the 9 degree is giving you the fastest ball speed. 162, 167, 165. Okay. All fairly similar on the launch angles, high 14s, low 15s. Similar on spin, didn't hit this quite as solid. The 9 degree is still the most solid, and that proves it with the ball speed being faster. Okay, and it's actually a little bit shorter as well. Okay, so let's take a look at and see the yellows are all the 7.5s out here to the right. The 10.5 more loft you hooked, less loft you start slicing a little bit more. And the blue, the 9 degree, is much straighter. And I'll give you a screen that's a little bit cleaner. Where we take a look here, the yellows are all to the right. The blue 9 degree, pretty consistent, still high. Yeah. And then we have your driver. We got 1 left where you said that's where your miss is, another 1 left and 2 to the right. So the dispersion is much greater with your driver than with the other 2, but we can still see here the blue, which was the 9 degree, is going to give you the straightest shot pattern. Okay, and then we can talk about going into heavier shafts to get the swing weight down. I mean, not to get the swing weight down, to get the spin down. Okay. So what this shows, right here, you can see the orange line. That's your club path. It's coming down, and then it's just going straight up. So you're actually hitting up on it at plus 3 degrees. So you're adding about 3 degrees of loft at impact. That's why we're seeing a lot of those drives go really high. Okay. Also the face angle. That's a little bit, that last one was a little bit closed, just a little bit, not much, you know, about 3 degrees. And then also this shows some of the ball speed, and we're going to play it and it's going to show the club coming through impact, okay? And oh, it also shows the club path -6. So we're kind of coming out and back across the line a little bit, okay? You'll see the club coming down through here, then you'll see it coming up through here. So that's a 9-degree driver, but you're turning into a 12.9. And we can show some close-ups. Close up there. I said this is extremely straight up after this. See that line start to tilt this way, putting spin on it.